Sam here from Sheridan Computers, and OPNsense 25.7.10 has just been released. This update wasn't just a routine maintenance release. It was pushed out because of a significant IPv6 vulnerability in FreeBSD that could affect WAN setups that are using DHCP version 6 and router advertisements. So in short, a malformed IPv6 router advertisement could potentially trigger remote command execution on systems running the rtsold daemon, and this is the same component that OPNsense uses for IPv6 auto configuration on the WAN interface. So if you run IPv6 on your WAN, then this update is going to matter to you. Let's break down exactly what the risk was, what OPNsense fixed, and then we'll dive into the rest of the improvements included in 25.7.10.
Sheridan Computers, IT, Communications, Support.
So the vulnerability comes from a FreeBSD Security Advisory and affects rtsold, which listens for IPv6 router advertisements. So in other words, in the right conditions, a malicious IPv6 router advertisement could cause code to run on your firewall. Before you start panicking, this is very important. Router advertisement packets are link local, meaning they don't transit the internet. So this isn't some internet worm scenario. But if your WAN uses IPv6 and accepts router advertisements from your ISP, then rtsold is active there, and that's why OPNsense have shipped this update. So 25.7.10 pulls in the FreeBSD fix that properly sanitizes the DNS search list options, and this closes that attack vector. And just so you're really clear on this, users not using IPv6 and IPv6 users that do not configure the system to accept router advertisement messages are not affected. If you're not running IPv6, then you're not affected by this. In addition to the FreeBSD Security Advisory, Franco has also posted that Python has reported security issues of which a denial of service in http.client could potentially affect existing installations, given that an HTTP server sends a malicious response which can consume a large amount of memory and CPU time and cause swapping, and Python has not released an update for version 3.11 at this point in time. If we just head over to Red Hat website quickly, I think this is it, CVE 2025-6075, which was public on October the 31st, 2025. Last modified December the 18th, so yeah, it must be this one. So a vulnerability in Python's os.path.expand vars function that can cause performance degradation. When processing specially crafted, user-controlled input with nested environment variable patterns, the function exhibits quadratic time complexity, potentially leading to excessive CPU usage and denial of service conditions. No code execution or data exposure occurs, so the impact is limited to performance slowdown. And they've stated that this vulnerability is rated low rather than moderate because it only causes performance inefficiency without affecting code execution, data integrity, or confidentiality. The flaw lies in the algorithmic complexity of os.path.expand vars, which can become quadratic when processing crafted input containing repetitive or nested environment variable references. So I think that's an issue, just to be aware of. Besides the FreeBSD security fix, this update delivers a solid mix of improvements and cleanups across the system. Let's have a look at those biggest highlights. So captive portal accounting has moved back to IPFW. In big deployments, IPFW performs better than PF for accounting rules, and this also restores support for Ethernetless captive portals, such as those running on top of WireGuard. And they have noted that the PF Etherhook stays for now, but it will be removed entirely in OPNsense 26.1. Looking at the rest of the patch notes, there's a major cleanup and modernisation pass on the Suricata integration. Query scripts were refactored, the old params.py is deprecated, and suricata.yaml got maintainability improvements, and OPNsense now supports a conf.d directory under user, local, etc. Suricata for dropping configs. And controller views were also simplified. DHCPRelay now understands CARP VHIDs, and this means that your relay behaves correctly during CARP failovers. Now this is a welcome improvement for high ability setups. Looking at the firewall stuff, looks like the firewall live log gets a few quality of life upgrades. So we've got customizable columns, combined hostname display, larger table size options, and faster refresh logic. So these tweaks just make the live log much more usable during troubleshooting. Looking at the system and MVC cleanups, a lot of internal code modernization looks like it's happened. The sample config.xml has been normalized. Gateway code switched from real if to device. Legacy exec calls removed in various components. Better XML handling with libxml no blanks. New invalidate model helper, not sure what that is. New as int method for base field. So these aren't flashy features, but they reduce technical debt and make the system a bit more reliable. Looking at the Unbound changes, Unbound dropped support for the blocklist.site block lists, and they've been unstable for a while. It also cleans up how blocklist update markers and size files are handled. Looking at the VPN improvements, OpenVPN gets AES 256 CBC support back for legacy compatibility, support for Verify X509 name, and removal of old exec-based code paths. So these are minor but helpful updates. If we look at which plugins have been updated, OS NDP proxy, that's been updated to 1.2, and the OS theme rebellion has been updated to 1.9.4. So we've got some driver and kernel fixes. Multiple network driver improvements have landed. E1000 tweaks for ASPM L1. Fixes for IGB VLAN support on VFs. IX driver adds debug dump for E610 adapters. NetMap stability improvements. PF and sync lock handling fixes. OpenVPN interface uses proper IFT tunnel type. So all of these contribute to a better NIC behavior, particularly with Intel hardware. And then finally, it looks like we've got some port updates. So dpinger to 3.4, libucl to 0.9.3, NSS 3.119.1, PHP seclib to 3.0.48. So these are mostly security or maintenance bumps. Okay, so should you update? Well, if you use IPv6 on your WAN, then yeah, absolutely update. Even though the underlying IPv6 bug requires link local access and can't be triggered from across the internet, it's still a remote triggerable security issue on any interface that accepts IPv6 router advertisements. And even if you don't use IPv6, you're still getting meaningful improvements in the firewall, captive portal, Suricata, and broader system stability. So that's it for the OPNsense 25.7.10 update. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to keep your systems patched, especially when FreeBSD drops IPv6 advisories like this one. For any IT consulting requirements, especially OPNsense related, you know what to do. Head across to SheridanComputers.com. If you made it this far, that's appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.